Welcome back to British Stand. I hope you're all well. Today we're going to be providing a further update on the attack that happened, of course, in Dublin yesterday. Yesterday, of course, we did break the news. However, at that time of recording, we didn't know too much. All we knew really at the time was that an individual was cutting about a residential street, essentially, in Dublin and stabbing people. And then all we really knew is that the individual had been arrested. However, since then, as we woke up this morning, we've seen one of the victims showing the extent of his injuries. We've got an update on him. We've got an update on terms of the victims as well. We've got an update on the alleged attacker, and we've got a lot of Irish politicians' responses and the latest Garda statement. So we're going to be going through all of that in today's live stream. But as always, guys, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Now, yesterday, actually, when we broke the news, what we were told about this incident was that 4 people had been stabbed. However, as we woke up this morning, it has been confirmed that it was 3 men that have been stabbed in the knife attack, aged from mid-20s to mid-40s, and they were attacked by an individual at 3 p.m. yesterday. The men were injured at a number of locations in the residential area, including Oxmantown Road and Niles Street. They sustained what have been described as slashing-type injuries, like slashes to the neck, and all 3 were taken to hospital by ambulance. 2 are described as having serious but non-life-threatening injuries, while the third person suffered less serious injury. Now, in terms of the third, I'm supposing this was one of the individuals, but he's taken to social media and posted his injuries as one of the victims in this attack. His name, of course, as Cormac. Now, I can't show one of the images because of YouTube, but I can show this one here with regard to it afterwards. He showed like a before where it just his neck was slashed, and then of course he was in the pub hours later having a beer and had his throat stitched up, and just simply captioned it, as you can see there: throat stitched up, attacker in custody, beers on tap, we live to see another day. So one of the victims there, Cormac, of course, who lives around the area, is believed to have been attacked when returning home. But again, to be fair, I'm glad that, of course, his injuries don't seem to be too serious, and I'm glad that he's in the pub having some beers. So yeah, good to see on that nature, despite a horrific attack by this lunatic. The victims seem like they're okay, not said to be sort of life-threatening, and certainly Cormac last night there, of course, in the pub. And great spirit to him. That's certainly the Irish way of doing things. So bravo to him in a really serious attack, but glad to see he's okay in this situation. So Cormac's come out. We don't know any more in terms of the other victims, but are said to be aged between mid-20s and their 40s. Now, in terms of other news with regards to the perpetrator, now, of course, it still remains the same, that Irish authorities and the Garda are stating that it wasn't terror-related, but they have stated, it's said that the attacker is believed to be from South America. Now, again, it is also believed that the people injured were all Irish that were attacked at random, but as stated, the attacker is believed to be South American and is currently in custody at this moment in time. He's being held at a Garda station in Dublin under the Section 4 of criminal justice, and the Garda believe the suspect acted alone, and they said they are increasing their visibility in the area to reassure the community. They've also responded with significant resources and want people to help, but as stated, the individual is in custody, as we know, and is believed to be South American. Now, again, the fallout from this yesterday has sparked a bit of conversation from Irish politicians. Now, again, for those of you, I know we're on British Stand here a lot, we do follow the British politics quite a lot, and to be fair, with the same agenda. I think they're lefty parties. Again, I'm not too clued up with Irish politics, so apologies to the Irish people that are tuning in. But they have had a response from one of I think their lefty party. Again, I'm sure it seems as that way, and they've came out and said they've came out and said, well, this Gary Cannon has described the incident as terrifying and a tragedy, and actually kind of came out at the far-right agitators. Speaking on RTE's Morning Island, the Dublin Central TD said, although what happened yesterday was completely random, local people had highlighted that there were tension in the area, that people didn't feel safe. He also said that what was described as far-right agitators tried to use the incident to advance their own position by claiming the suspect was somebody who may have been in the international protection system. He added, I actually think it's disgusting, but this is not a community that will actually be taken by these people who tried to deceive. I think the community rallied yesterday. The community will continue to rally over the weeks and months, but we obviously need to be careful for those who tried to take advantage of the situation. Again, in incidents like this, it seems as though politicians always like to blame this far-right people. That far-right is a term that gets brandished around at this moment in time, and I don't think anyone really was. People were saying that, look, it looked like it looked like it could have been a terror attack, and whilst the Garda do confirm that, and their politicians do confirm that that is not the case, and it was just a lone attack at random, I think people do have the right to be wary. I mean, what individual just cuts about stabbing 3 people in a residential street? So you can't blame the people of Ireland for wanting answers as to why this thing is currently ongoing in their country. Now, again, it has turned out that the individual was believed to come from a Latin American descent. So, again, he's not known to the authorities. It's also been confirmed he's not known to the Garda in terms of previous things that he's done. But certainly, I think the way that politicians brand and just have a go at normal Irish people asking for answers, it's a bit mirrors the situation in the United Kingdom. It's almost gaslighting them and taking the light off of the attack that's happened. That was horrific. An individual cut around a residential street, slashing people's throats. And the individual there, Cormac, that we just showed you a picture of, he was told, I mean, from his account, that if it was a little bit more, then he'd have been game over, or toast, as he put it. So it's a freaking serious incident. And these politicians, these lefty politicians, using it as ways to gaslight the Irish people that are rightfully so concerned, and using that sort of far-right brush that they seem to always use all of the time. So I find that very, very disrespectful from him, and I'm not Irish, and nor was I. I mean, I think the Irish people deserve to be concerned when they've got some lunatic roaming around their residential streets with a knife, stabbing and slashing people in their throat. It's disgusting, and that's where the main tackling should be. Now, this individual then came out and spoke about ways that they could combat knife crime in the city. He continued on this morning show. But certainly, yeah, that is kind of that. Now, I'm going to try and find some more updates in terms of the police. But again, that's all we've really got in terms of the level of it. But they have stated that it looks as though this incident is 3 instead of 4. One of the victims has came out, described it ever so slightly. Politicians have responded, and of course the man has been arrested and is believed to be of South American descent. So again, further updates will come in due course and as time goes on, but certainly I do feel for the people of Ireland, and again, being gaslit by their politicians. And it's the same, it mirrors the same situation that currently happens in this country. Again, I'm not for it. And again, to be fair, there are people that go out there and cause trouble, and of course do have that. But I think that way that politician was just describing normal Irish people that were just concerned, absolutely concerned, and have every right to be when they've got lunatics cutting about there with knives in their country and going up to residential street. I just can't get my head around it. But this is just something that's going to continue in Europe, and it's going to be something that's continuously on the rise until something is done about it. Now, this Mr. Gannon said that their way that they need to combat knife crime in Dublin as such is stated that we need a proper policing strategy for the city centre. These are highly densely populated areas, he said. They have huge levels of complex needs. What does an actual residential policing strategy look like for the city centre communities? We've been crying out for this in Dublin 1, Dublin 7, crossing Dublin 2. We have an incredible Garda there. We need more of them. What's the plan, he asked. Well, I mean, he didn't really give us his opinion. He's asking questions as to what's going to be done in in terms of the police presence. But again, Ireland, it very much does. I mean, reading these articles and reading after this incident, it very much mirrors what's happening in the United Kingdom as well. You know, we've got this problem with stabbing epidemics and knife crime and all of these kind of things, but nothing seems to be being done about it. But certainly you could probably look at a correlation on other sides of things as to see why it's all going up. But again, nobody's got the answers. But from an Irish perspective and from a British perspective, a German perspective, Swedish perspective, wherever you want to say, it could be anywhere next where this next lone wolf is just cutting about a place in Europe. Again, Sweden, mass shooting last week. Then there was an attacker killing an 11-year-old girl in the Netherlands in the daylight. We had some guy get stabbed, of course, a boy get stabbed at school in the UK. Now this in Ireland. Where is it going to be next? You know, France next? Spain next? Something is going to continue to happen. And without real deterrence within these countries, it's going to continue to rise and rise and rise without actually action taken from governments. And it's a collective thing here. We should all band together and take advice from countries that don't have this epidemic. I always point to Switzerland. Switzerland doesn't have this problem. Again, Switzerland are always very well ran. You can say what you want about them in the world wars and all these kind of things, but they're very, very well ran. They don't get this sort of level of crime in their countries. This just doesn't happen on their streets. And again, they're probably one of the countries with the most guns per capita in the world. And I don't know if they're the top, but they're certainly in the top 2 or 3 countries that have the most guns per capita. So again, it's all about the education and all about the way that their country is governed and the way it's looked after, that they don't get these. Anyway, guys, let's get into the live chat. I've been rambling on a lot. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's take someone here. Someone said, look at Fiona's comments. I haven't seen Fiona's comments yet. Walt Davis says, if far right means return to sensibly controlled immigration, then yes, I'm so far right, I can't be wrong. Again, this far right thing is just being chucked around. You know, far right to me, you know, if you told me 2-3 years ago what far right was, I would agree with the saying. I'd be like, yeah, far right, you don't want any far right people around you and all these things. They're too far down the other side of the spectrum. But over the last 3 years, they're just calling normal people that are concerned about immigration or concerned about illegal immigrants being in their country as far right, which is absolutely disgusting. They're just normal working class people that are residents of their country, whether that be Ireland, whether that be the UK. They're now being branded as far right. So there is no definition of far right anymore. Anyone that wants to stop boats coming into their country is far right. I mean, if that's the new definition, then certainly everybody in this chat is far right by the way that the governments and the political system is addressing this. Let's take some more comments on the situation. Brazilian. I don't know. It just says South American descent so far. Again, we don't know anymore, but we'll certainly find out a bit later on. Brad says, don't stop talking about left and right. Improve your language. Don't adopt their language. Again, look, I'm just adopting their language because I was reading what one of their ministers, again, I don't know how the Irish political system works, so sorry for my ignorance there with the Irish viewers watching on, but Mr. Gannon, what is he? He is Social Democrats TD, Gary Gannon. Again, I don't know who he is, but the way he's speaking, I suppose he's on he's a lefty of such. But I was just speaking speaking in his language as the way that he's describing our Irish people being concerned about immigration as far right, which is absolutely disgusting in itself. Jenny says, buckle up, people. This is just the beginning. Sadly it is. I mean, this is something that we're just going to continue to see. Now, I don't care about in terms of you're talking about the perpetrators and all these kind of things. Whatever, that's a conversation for itself. But without the right education and without the right deterrence in this country and Ireland and across Europe, then these attacks, of course, are just going to continue to rise and rise and rise and continue to happen. It's just there to see. Everybody's talking about this guy saying he's a tosser. That Gary Gannon. Yeah. Well, we'll have a little look now anyway. But guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back later for another live stream a little bit later on. Maybe there has something happened else in Ireland. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in.